Fine. All right, we are live. Go ahead and log in here. Nope. It's yeah. Oh no! Oh no! What's the password here? Is there a 1 on the end or anything? The normal thing. That's very different. Cool. Okay. And then we will back in a second. That's right. Okay. That coming up. I can go ahead and start that going. So we can see that, which is awesome. And no one's viewing right now, which is okay. But we will get that working soon enough. Meanwhile, let's see here. What could I show? I haven't seen any of this stuff, so I don't know if it's appropriate to show, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait a little bit and get that going. I should definitely pull up some AMVs for this. Unfortunately, I can't do that. What's all this stuff? Various and sundry. You know, I could pull this up and just mute it. That would work. See if anyone recognizes or interested in this. As we prepare for everything, we prepare to analyze everything. Because that's just what we do. We are analyzers. And we talk and we discuss and we go deeper. Yeah. Right, I want to get this going.
Oh, I suppose I might need one of these things.
That's probably true.
They come in handy every now and then.
I want the other one. Switch over. I don't want that. I want that one.
Boop-a-doo, boop-a-boop, boop, boop, boop-a-doo.
And I will try not to recite the password on the air.
Beep, 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 beep. Bop, 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 bop. And now for something completely different. A Microsoft update.
Nah, that's pretty normal.
Yeah, pretty standard.
Now, hopefully, we will get a chat room going in there. And it is 9:30, so we can more or less get started here. That came in, which means we want to stop it coming in. Pause.
Mood.
Mode eventually. There it is. But it's way too big.
Control minus.
Control minus isn't working. Why isn't control minus working? There we go. All right, that's about right. That will let us see all the people.
Menos.
The hand of fate. All right. And I will just rotate this so it's a little more out of the way. And
Deflator mouse. Wait, no, that's deflator mouse. Sorry, different one.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I will turn off Mad Max. And we will.
What's he so mad about?
Everything.
I've broken the cardinal rule. I've worn stripes on air.
No.
And I'm contrasty with my background.
And I should put this back on normal playback.
Hey.
Sounds familiar.
It sounds like it's time for
Smoke
and Mirrors.
Welcome everyone to the
What number is
Whoops.
this?
to the wrong audio output. Why is that happening? Why is it outputting the audio to there? That's interesting.
Let's see. Is this one going to there?
Oops. One
That
second,
should be
guys.
good.
Sorry. For some reason, it's playing back. Oh, that's right, because we didn't
USB
set the output
tree.
out to there. There we go. That should be better. Not that we'll be playing any more
So-
audio that way, but that's okay.
The input and the output.
Input and output and all the other puts. All right. So today we are talking about Haruhi Suzumiya, the melancholy thereof.
Oh, yes.
And this is episode 10 broadcast order, aka the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, episode 4 in terms of episode title. So that's what you got. That's what we're doing there. Hey, Liquid, glad you could join us.
Howdy.
As always. So this episode is, if you're watching this in chronological order, this is probably the first shocker of the show, where we've seen weirdness up until this point, but pretty normal weirdness, if you will. People have been claiming things, and there's been some strangeness. And this is where Haruhi starts getting, well, this is where the show starts living up to his name, because what is Haruhi right now? She's actually melancholy.
She is. She is.
Kind of frustrated because, well, why is she frustrated?
Why is she frustrated? She's
kind of annoyed because, gosh, nothing strange has been happening.
It's too normal.
It's way too normal.
Too normal.
She wants something strange to happen. Well, she's gonna get her wish, isn't she?
Yeah.
So this is an episode where we finally see something interesting happen again in kind of chronological order. Starting with Ryoko, who comes over and starts. She's obviously a little concerned about Haruhi. One hint that this is an unusual episode is the fact that we have no opening credit sequence. The credits are shown over the episode. And we
fit more episode in that way.
Exactly. Yeah, they have a lot to get across here, and so it's going to do that. And so in this episode, we get a bit of a surprise from Kyon, which is a letter in his
shoebox.
Yeah.
At school, so everybody has their place where they take off their shoes and swap into, I guess,
school shoes.
School shoes. Makes it easier to clean, I suppose. You don't drag
does.
in all the grit from the road.
Yeah. In fact, later in the episode, we see somebody's shoes, and we note that the character's name is written on the back of the shoes. It's an easy way to keep track of whose is whose.
But that's
like
the
Dr.
equivalent of
Seuss.
the locker.
It is. Yes. Well,
You want to leave somebody a note.
Yeah.
Where they'll get it.
Exactly.
They're going to put their foot in their shoe sooner or later.
Right.
They can't avoid that note, can they?
Yeah, and they'll open that at least twice a day. So that's an advantage. Now, the obvious and most common use of this, at least in terms of anime plots, these little romantic letters.
Love letter.
So Ryoko has surprisingly...
Not that love letter.
So Ryoko has left a letter in Kyon's shoebox asking to meet him after school, which is something of a surprise.
Well,
So
that's unusual.
Yeah. So Kyon goes to the club room as usual, but nothing really is happening. Haruhi comes in her little fit. She's kind of frustrated, and she's playing around on the computer. We have this wonderful little scene where Kyon is just idly watching her and looking at the website and noticing all of these photos of Mikuru on the website in the maid uniform. And he kind of freaks out a little bit.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Look, I'm posting all these pictures on our website. We're going to get thousands of hits.
Yeah. And
not exactly ethical.
No. And what's interesting about this little sequence is that Kyon doesn't even try to explain.
He doesn't even try.
He just walks over to the computer.
No.
Haruhi's going on. He just starts taking care of the pictures.
But it's funny. He gets ready to delete them, but at the last minute, he redirects that file to some other location.
It would be a waste.
It would be a waste. You don't want to get rid of them. You just don't want
Right.
them posted on the website. They're still good photos.
For those watching the video, I love this expression on Haruhi as he says this kind of not sure if serious kind of expression. She's kind of evaluating, but then finally she decides, oh, fine, whatever. And yeah, he manages to kind of undelete them, and so Haruhi stands up and says, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And off she goes. So Haruhi's in quite a state.
Yeah. Not enough excitement.
Yeah, she's really peaked. In fact, she goes out and bumps into Mikuru and just keeps on walking. Really peeved.
Wow.
Kyon is actually kind of not unhappy with this, though. It makes things a lot easier.
Hey, I'm here. No,
Yep.
I'm not. I'm not going to be here today.
So easy. But it allows Kyon to go over to the room and find Ryoko. Now, I should mention that the note originally was just meet me in this room. It didn't say it was from Ryoko, so I'm kind of getting ahead of myself there. But Ryoko's in the room. And a few things to note here. First is the coloring.
It's very amber, like the sun is setting almost.
Exactly.
Late in the day.
Very late in the day. Now, obviously, school students who are staying late for a club are going to stay a little bit longer than normal. And so the implication here is that they've stayed long enough for it to be kind of that golden hour.
Ah, yes, as the sun is setting.
Yeah.
As opposed to the when it comes up, it's more of a bluish hue, the evening reddish yellow.
Exactly. But the deeper point here is that it creates an otherworldly sense.
It's very mystical.
Very mystical. It's almost like we're in a different plane of existence with this beautiful light. And I do want to point out how beautifully they have that gradient from kind of orange to red to black throughout the room. It is very well done. But then Ryoko starts talking, and it very quickly starts getting kind of weird.
Yeah.
So what did you think about Ryoko's conversation here as she started?
I wasn't quite clear on what did she say? She said
well, she starts talking about change.
yeah.
And how do you make things change? If you see a situation that isn't changing, isn't it better to at least do something to make it move forward?
It seemed like she had something on her mind, but she wasn't going to come out and say it.
And the classic thing we'd all kind of assume here, if we've seen a lot of anime or read a lot of manga, is that it's some kind of
romantic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe it's about somebody else. Maybe it's about somebody that she likes, that she knows he knows, and she wants to kind of get a sense about that. It could be about him. I mean, it would make sense to meet up with somebody, in a classroom after school. We've certainly seen this in series like His and Her Circumstances. This is a very similar kind of scene.
Everybody else has gone home. They have alone time.
Yeah. No janitors wandering around
magical hour.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then she starts saying things like, my superiors don't know what it's like out in the field.
Out in the field. Oh.
Which is quite an odd thing to say. And so they have this sort of rapprochement where they talk back and forth about how Kyon is very much playing it light here. He's not agreeing, not disagreeing. He's saying, yeah, I guess, you should move things forward if you feel like they should, but he's really non-committal.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, that's great because now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. I'm going to kill you and see how Haruhi handles it.
Yeah. And that's an interesting.
What? What? You're not serious, are you? You're going to kill me?
Right. That's kind of a shocker. I should also note we even see behind him a shot of the clock. So we know it's about 6:10 in the evening, which, pretty late. It's a couple hours into the day. And so he's kind of shocked. Whereupon Ryoko quite literally just, pulls a knife and attacks him with this wonderful, weird camera angle to it.
Initially, he says, put away that rubber knife or whatever.
Yeah.
No. She's serious. That's real enough anyway.
Yeah, and it's a great reminder about how darn safe Japanese schools are. The idea of somebody's actually carrying a knife or much less a gun is just wouldn't even occur to you.
Yeah.
It's got to be a prop or something. But no, I mean, she's clearly quite serious about this.
As he realizes, wait.
Yeah, this is not good. And so he tries to run out the conveniently open door.
Protect yourself. Grab
Protect
a chair.
yourself, right? But that doesn't really work so far. Work so well.
Yeah, you can't flee.
No, she's closed it down, and
So you got to fight.
And we've seen imagery like this before, haven't we?
The flight or fight situation.
Not just that. I mean, literally the imagery of the room when he tries to run away. We get these symbols all over the place.
Yeah, he's not in the spot where he's not in Kansas anymore.
No, where have we seen that before?
Now it seems to me that when they were in that other dimension in the fellow's room who they went to, they had that same sort of experience.
Yeah, they sure did. And who was the one kind of running the show back then? It was Yuki.
Yeah, I suspect she might have something to do with this. It's that same sort of digital pattern of this is a holodeck type of feel.
Exactly. And this becomes increasingly clear as Ryoko refers to herself as another android, another entity brought here by the data thought entity.
Yes.
And who's doing very similar things.
And her realm of data is all powerful in this area.
Yeah.
And that's why he can't escape.
Yep. She's locked it down.
He tries to throw a chair.
Nope.
No effect.
I love that little reaction. He goes, so he is completely stopped in here. We get this very interesting framing too in this sequence where we have all this rubble sitting around, and they deliberately block part of the shot with the rubble. So you're only seeing some part of the character's face. You're only seeing some part of the character's shot. And it's there to add another otherworldly layer onto what's going on. This sense that things are...
they're not in school anymore.
Not only they're not in school anymore, Ryoko is now not just a normal person. And so she goes to attack him, and a crack appears.
Help!
Yeah. So that really hurt. Wait, I'm still alive. That's good.
No. Why am I still alive?
Yeah. Because Yuki has arrived and
rescue.
She's literally grabbed the blade with her
hand,
which is
bleeding now.
Yeah,
all over the blade.
That's quite the shot. I just want to really emphasize
that's not digital blood, is it? That's blood.
That's her blood, and she's explaining that Ryoko's data is damaged.
You are my backup.
Yes, Ryoko is meant to be a backup unit for Yuki, and apparently this isn't working out so well. So this is our first hint about where this shot is going. The fact that Yuki is intervening, and that she is willing to hurt herself to move forward. That is almost not even in her mind, the question of whether that is a concern or not. And it is kind of a shocking thing.
As the Matrix glitches in the background.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's kind of interesting because we had this very solid representation of the classroom. Even though it was broken, it was very solid. As soon as Yuki comes in, it starts to flicker.
It's the data background.
Yeah. And so Yuki is clearly damaging this environment in some way. And we even see the colors change as we change perspective.
The world's creation is now in contention.
Absolutely.
Who controls this?
And in fact, the knife starts to disappear.
Dissolved.
Yeah.
This data is being deleted.
Yep. But the
fight goes on.
Yeah, and Ryoko is very relaxed about this. It's actually kind of fun how
get behind me.
Yuki just throws him to the ground. And so there's that shot where there's her her shoe, and I wonder if the implication here, because we see her shoe with her name written on it. The implication here is that Yuki didn't leave a note for Kyon. Ryoko actually left a note in that shoe.
Sneaky.
Yeah, to kind of to move forward. Yuki could have done something, but she's not, very deliberately. But now she's forced to do something. Now she actually has to intervene. And Ryoko maintains her cheerful self.
Wow, that was a quick...
So Yuki's sending orders back to the data thought entity to try to resolve this. And we see this interesting moment where Ryoko is flipping back and forth. I think this is actually something, a hint for a little later. Yuki is trying to get Ryoko deleted. And Ryoko starts walking forward, and she literally like teleports as she's walking forward. I don't think that's Ryoko doing it. I don't think Ryoko is intentionally doing it. I think that's an attempt to delete her.
Ah.
And it hasn't happened yet, but she is starting to be affected.
Not a complete delete, just partial bits.
Yeah.
Bits being erased here and there.
Yuki then throws Kyon off to one side so that Ryoko will not attack him directly. But of course, she still does.
And now Yuki's torn between attack and defend.
Exactly, which is very difficult. And so she is slammed by all of these spikes. And this is a very difficult image.
Broke her glasses.
Yeah, broke her glasses.
Whoa.
There are like 8 spikes.
As she's speared inside and out through every which direction.
No change in expression still. But we also do note something in the background. The background's changing even further. It used to be just these sort of weird moire patterns, and now it's these sort of moving circular images.
Yeah, for somebody who's been shish kebabbed like that, she's pretty calm.
She's very calm. She pulls it out. I love how not only does she reach in and start to pull out one of the spikes, you see a blood spurt as it comes out. There's a it's very disturbing, and I do love the juxtaposition there that we are reminded that Yuki is not a normal person.
Yeah.
But Ryoko says, but you're so far damaged now, your mobility is limited, you're not going to be able to do anything. And so she's ready to go. She cuts Yuki again. The blood spurts even onto Kyon. Yuki says, it's over. But of course, what she means is...
it's over for who?
Yeah, exactly.
As the data gets rewritten.
Yep. She finally had enough time for the message to go through. Ryoko is finally surprised for once. And all of her data starts to disappear.
Now, as a backup, that's worrisome.
Yes.
My backup is being deleted.
Although Ryoko immediately says that there are other
backups.
All around.
And they may one day get their own volition to take control.
Yeah, if
change things.
If one backup could do it, others could. And we had this really very touching moment with Ryoko, where she suddenly revealed herself to be more or less a villain. And now we see that the price of her villainy is death.
Deletion.
Yep, she's being destroyed.
Wiped out.
Yep. And so she starts to dissolve away. And I do want to point out the how impressive it is. I mean, that animation of slowly dissolving away
all those little tiny pieces.
Yeah, and obviously you can do a certain amount of, I mean, that's all particle stuff, but to do that and then erase it slowly up the drawing takes quite a bit of effort and work. And so Ryoko basically says, well, enjoy your time with Haruhi, and off she goes. And Yuki collapses.
So accepting.
Yes. Yuki's still with a blood-stained uniform. And,
I can't get up yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Too damaged.
Whereupon
she rebuilds everything.
Yeah, everything's completely rebuilt.
The classroom is back.
Completely unchanged.
But she's still...
She needs some time.
Yeah.
And then we get this very cute moment when she gets back up and needs a moment to help herself. And she realizes something. And this is kind of the one time we've seen her where she has wide eyes for a second there. And I just kind of want to rewind to point that out, where she kind of needs to get back up. And she forgot her
my glasses.
She forgot to redo the glasses. And Kyon says, well, I think you look cuter without them. Which I personally
not that I have a glasses fetish. What's a fetish?
Actually, what's a glasses fetish?
You may know
what a fetish is. Like, never mind. And then we get one of the great comedic moments in the series when Taniguchi walks in because he's forgotten his bag and
he sees them in a compromising position, and he draws his own conclusions,
as I think is not unreasonable.
That time of day, closed classroom. What are they doing on the floor, cradling each other so closely? Carry on! I forget I was here.
Enjoy yourself. That was a legendary bit of voice acting in the Japanese dub. Just the way he managed the twist of the voice. This in Japanese was fantastic. So the fact that they managed to get it right in the English dub was wonderful. So Ryoko, of course, quote unquote, transfers suddenly out of the school.
Well, that's a mystery.
Yes. Yay! And so
Haruhi finally has a mystery.
And boy, is she happy.
She left with what? How mysterious.
I love the unadulterated joy on Haruhi's face at this. And then you have,
John's.
of course, the series' fundamental twists. This is what Haruhi wants, but what Haruhi cannot have.
Yes.
And this is, if Kyon could only explain to her, but no, he's not going to do that. It's like, that's how it is.
Yeah, yesterday I was almost killed, and the person who I almost killed was deleted.
Yeah.
So
but he receives what? Another letter.
Another letter.
And this one's signed by Mikuru. Now, here's a little bit of a hint. We see the paper and we see the writing, and we notice how neat it is.
Yeah.
Very, very well written on cute little stationery. So Kyon goes over, very excited, trying not to get too worked up, but he's sure this is Mikuru. He's sure it's not another trick. He's sure that's what's going on. She's exactly this kind of person. It's really an adorable scene on Kyon's part. And he opens the door. When he figures, of course, Yuki's going to be there. Opens the door, and who is it? It's Mikuru? Kinda, sorta.
Maybe her older sister. She's looking more mature.
Much older, much more mature.
Much more. Wow.
Yeah. And I love how they handle this scene where Mikuru is very familiar with Kyon. It is exactly how somebody you've known for a while.
Pick up right where she left off.
Yep, absolutely. And then he doesn't believe it, and so she proceeds to.
I need some.
And so she just.
I can prove it to you. Take a look at this. You see this right here? See this little star-shaped mole?
I should also point out another kind of hint that Mikuru has changed a little bit. She ain't wearing no bra.
No.
Which I don't think the current Mikuru would ever.
She'd never
ever do.
Yeah, she's too modest at her current stage.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she shows off this mole-shaped bra, and this star-shaped mole.
Star-shaped mole.
And here's where you have an interesting thing between broadcast and chronological.
Oh.
Broadcast order, we've seen this mole before because we saw it, I believe, in the Murder Mystery Mansion thing. This does show up later on. If you're watching it chronologically, you haven't seen this mole before. So you're thinking, is it really her, or is this just something they're throwing at us? So we get a little bit of Gynax bounce there. And of course, Crispin Freeman's famous line, where the original line was basically, "I'm shocked." And he said, "Oh, we can do better than that." So when she does that to him, he goes, "Supersize me." It's pretty appropriate. So, and now we get our first real bit of lunch. Oh, and of course, Mikuru.
Oh,
I love this.
you don't know about that yet.
And here again is our hint. This is the Mikuru we all know and love.
Yes.
She's made another mistake. And that's the point at which Kyon kind of, okay, all right, I got it.
Yeah, it's you.
So, and yes, Kaiser, this is broadcast live. We're not live, tape on live as last week. So, yeah.
I'm right here, right now.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, so we have this wonderful scene between the two of them when we discover that she came back to give us a little warning. And it's a little bit like, so for you Doctor Who fans.
Warning from the future.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Bad Wolf moment.
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Where she says, Snow White. You know, Snow White.
What could that possibly mean?
Right, but you can't say anything. That's a secret. That's classified.
Tell me more. Classified. Tell me more. How old are you?
I love that. Yeah, yeah. And of course, you don't ask a girl her age.
Yeah.
And so she explains, no, that's classified. I also really appreciate actually, two things here. One is Mikuru's nostalgia for the room. She walks around and says, "I couldn't possibly fit into this anymore."
Wow, I used to wear these.
And it's that sense of appreciating what it is, despite all the things she went through. I mean, of all the characters, she would be the least likely to appreciate it, but she does look back on it with nostalgia.
Now she's not even wearing a bra.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. And then also the voice acting in here, the fact that they.
I was hoping at that point she would kiss him.
Me too.
She was going for it. She had her lips puckered. She just went around for the hug.
And here's the thing. And because here's the thing, which is very interesting, because she then says, I just ask one thing of you. Don't get too close to me. Ooh, that's a tough one.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I mean, who knows what that means? I mean, where are things going? It's very tough at this point to understand that.
But he's the one who points out to her that she had the star-shaped bowl. She didn't even know it. So there's no way he can't get closer to her.
Exactly. Yeah. So and I also love the voice acting in here, how the voice actors on both lines, on both sides, are able to slightly more mature their voices without sounding like completely different characters. So we're left with more mysteries, more questions.
Mysteries abound.
Yeah. Yuki comes back in, and here we get another bit of a plot bombshell, as Yuki comes back in and Kyon asks, "Have you seen someone?" And Yuki says, "Oh yeah, that's the older Mikuru." Kind of walks right in.
Not so long.
Yeah. So they know about each other, which goes back to what we were saying earlier in the early episodes, when Mikuru first walks into the club room and she sees Yuki there. She has a little bit of a moment. A little bit of a moment of surprise and recognition when she first sees them. So these two are aware of each other on some level somewhere.
And he asks about time travel.
Yeah.
No.
He says, "It can't
Your
be explained."
Won't work. You wouldn't understand it.
And so Haruhi is offended that Kyon isn't as interested as she is.
There's a mystery. This girl disappeared. There's no forwarding address. The teachers know nothing. There's no.
And I love that idea. We were talking about
normal.
this before. We were talking about this before. The idea that Haruhi would stalk up to the teachers and demand to know all about this student. And
I gotta know.
Right. And that she expects that they're going to give her all the information they have. No, not going to happen that way.
No one moves to Canada without saying anything.
Actually,
well, I guess some people do.
And that's the other thing, is that this does happen for often personal and delicate reasons.
Oh.
And so the teachers probably aren't going to tell you.
They're not going to tell you.
So they're probably not going to reveal everything. But Haruhi proceeds to
literally drag
Kyon off and says, "Come on, you consider yourself an SOS Brigade member." She leaves a note saying, "Days SOS Brigade, as you please." So it's sort of a
they're
free
on
day.
A mission, I suppose. The two of them. Hey, you guys can do anything. We're going to that apartment.
We're going to find out where she is. And this is again kind of that foreshadowing. This idea that now suddenly things are getting a little more serious, because now suddenly Haruhi has a mystery to investigate, and there's not going to be an easy explanation like in the murder mystery. She might actually find something.
Well, she has satisfaction in finding something, though, or is it the thrill of the chase?
True, but it's very dangerous for her to get near anything. So hopefully, it's not going to be too bad. But we'll have to find out in later episodes. So that is Haruhi. That is, and this is again, things are a little complicated because there are episodes of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya named The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. So this is Part 4 of that series of episodes within the larger storyline.
A subset.
Right. So now let's move on to the far more complicated
Oh
series.
My goodness. Where is my amateur psychiatrist hat?
Oh my gosh. So we're beginning with episode 6, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
What a title. And for something this psycho, so to speak, it is definely an undertaking.
it certainly is. I should point out, I hope I've been collecting all of them, all of the cards I have from my notes. And you got
I wrote page after page. Oh my goodness,
gosh.
I couldn't stop writing. There was so much to it.
We're going to have to show those at the end. Here are the number of pages of notes we have.
Trying to find a blank page was tricky. So tell me about your mother.
Yeah. So this episode, and unusually this episode begins with a quote on screen. The past will often attack the present with the pain of our memories.
This was a good quote to use for this.
Yeah.
We see ghostly images reappear from the past, and it always is a painful experience.
Yeah.
That's encountered around that time.
Absolutely. And this is a theme that we've seen developed over the course of the series in certain aspects. Stuff with Panaru especially, the girl who had died in the past, and the modern girl kind of trying to keep her alive in her memory. And this is the episode where we really build that out. Now you notice the attribution on this quote is Seiichi Kirima. Now
Kirima.
Yeah.
Kirima's
Nagi Kirima.
Nagi Kirima. That must be the fame. That must be her dad.
Yeah. Exactly. Everyone's referring to his book. Or we've seen a reference to his
Seiichi's book.
Yes. So this presumably is
she
from
doesn't
his
want
book.
people to read.
I know.
I
That's strange.
Or at least somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The cheetah girl.
Yeah. And so we begin in a hospital where the younger cop comes out, literally vomiting.
Yeah.
Because he sees Morita's body.
It's a terrible mess.
Yes. Now again, Morita is the cop. He is the weird cop with these special powers. And we come in and we see, and quite interestingly, we see 4 lab-coated people around him. So this is nothing normal.
Let me confer with my colleague. I've never seen anything like this. Have you? No. Get this guy. Maybe he has.
I love how they see, well, there's his eyeballs. There's his, medulla oblongata. There's his liver. It's like, whoa.
This guy's gone to pieces.
Quite literally. And so, so we now know that the cop has been very badly taken care of. And then the cop is out, and we see this interesting moment where he's wandering out and he sees a ghost of the past. He sees a blood-spattered girl.
And he's concerned for safety. He pulls his
weapon.
Weapon.
And
she disappears.
She vanishes, which is quite interesting.
Creepy.
Very creepy. And that's your hint that things are starting to get particularly weird for people. Now, we do already know that this cop was attacked in some way by Morita.
He seems to be attacked over and over and over again.
Yeah. Something's going on here. But we do cut back. We cut over to this very interesting moment. We see a Ferris wheel. And we pan down to someone we already have seen before. And we know her because of her kind of white gown, white dress, and the glowing butterflies. It's Manaka again.
Manaka.
So this is the girl who he seems kind of out of it.
The butterfly girl.
The butterfly girl. Yeah.
She hits people with those butterflies and they experience some intense stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so we cut back to 5 years ago, and we're not going to go through this, completely chronologically, but we see that kind of sum up the basics of the storyline.
The murder of Shizue.
Shizue? Shizue, I think.
Shizue.
Shizue. And so the story takes place by jumping back and forth between 5 years ago and today. This girl, Shizue, was killed by this serial killer who was operating 5 years ago. And we see Nagi Kirima was investigating back then. We also notice something interesting here. Kind of our first indication of something interesting with Nagi Kirima. She looks the same age.
Yeah, she does. I was noticing that. Well, how is this the same girl?
That's an interesting question. But she does definitely look the same age here as in present day.
I hope I can age like that.
Right, totally. And so she questions a friend of the girl who we now see in present day is giving a book to the girl's mother.
A diary.
Now, tell us a bit about these diaries.
Well, that was something interesting. I've seen this in a couple of different anime and stories where people will share a diary.
Mm.
For example, friends will share a diary. They'll write back and forth, or a family will have a family diary. And this was it appeared to be between two friends.
Yeah.
And after Shizue's demise, the friend decides to give the mother the diary so that the mother has something.
Yeah.
Some memory, I guess.
Now, the interesting question here is why now?
Why now? Why?
Yeah.
Now?
It's been 5 years. Why would she wait so long?
Because the past is coming to haunt her.
Well, that is very true. Now, we find out later, and I'm actually curious how soon the episode hints at this, because I didn't realize until later in the episode what was going on here. And no, we don't see here yet. What's happening is she's moving. The mother is moving somewhere else.
In the process of boxing up and getting ready to go out.
Yep. So that would make sense.
Moving on with her life, so to speak.
Yeah. So this is kind of the friend's last chance to pass this on. And so the mother starts reading this diary, and we find some of this backstory that the father died about 5 years ago, and they were both pretty crushed.
Yes, but the mother repressed, apparently, a lot of her emotions. Shizue's absolutely sobbing, and her mother is trying to be strong.
Yeah.
But by repressing it as a coping mechanism, she appears strong outwardly, but she's creating more problems for herself further along. And 1 week after the father's death, I think Shizue actually was able to have some sort of an emotional breakthrough, at least on her part. I don't remember the exact statement that she was able to write in there.
Yeah. Finally able to
break out of the mourning, I suppose.
Yeah. And that is really very much what this episode deals with, is this question of, okay, what is strength?
Right? What is strength? Yes.
Is strength sort of powering through and stiff upper lip and kind of not acknowledging those emotions, if you will, or acknowledging them but kind of acting anyway, or is strength something else?
Processing the emotion and growing from it, or
right. And which is one of the reasons why we see these sequences with and I also should point out how wonderful it is how the mother sells insurance, which is all about the future.
Yeah. In the event something bad should happen, which has happened.
Exactly. Yes. Wonderful bit of writing there. And so she's got this job selling insurance, and so again, getting back to kind of the plot is this idea that the mother's trying to be very strong for the daughter. The daughter's trying to be strong too. And there's this beautiful tragedy in it that they're both being strong for each other, but doing so
kind of hurt of each other.
Exactly.
Rather than dealing with it.
Yeah. If they had just sat down and said, I'm hurting so badly from this.
And it becomes this great thing that
really drives them
because
apart.
It could have, it drives them apart.
Yeah,
exactly. We see them distancing each other and not responding in a tender way that a family should do to heal from after that.
And so the story starts to really do some wonderful stuff to plant some seeds, which they then reveal is not quite what you think they are.
The Rorschachs.
The Rorschachs.
The Rorschach. That's psychological testing.
Right. Which is, again, is kind of your hint that, okay, somebody's being psychoanalyzed.
Somebody has sought professional help.
Right. And exactly. And that's an important hint that this is not just somebody going to a random therapist. This is somebody who's doing serious things. And then, of course, what is a Rorschach test? But a test of being able to see patterns and seeing what's actually going on.
Yeah, what's the deeper thought process?
And indeed, Rorschach tests, I think, are a beautiful symbol for this series in and of itself. You can just look at it and see say something obvious, but there's often a lot more going on there below the surface if you look for it. And so we cut back to the doctor in the hospital.
And that's the pregnant?
That's Manaka's
woman?
mother.
Manaka's mother.
Yeah.
She may be pregnant.
Maybe pregnant.
But she wants something.
Yeah.
And she gets a shot.
Mm-hmm. Well, you already seen hints of before. And then we cut over to Shizue, who has these terrible problems, these terrible stomach cramps.
Yeah.
And things. And the doctor says, and I love the dialogue in here, because the doctor says, and I'm going to forget the exact lines, but what is your abdominal pain like? When does it happen? Wouldn't your hair look better long?
Whoa.
And it just keeps right on going. And then he continues saying things, and he says, okay, now take off your shirt. And
she loses it at that.
She completely loses it at that. She gets highly nauseous. And we've gotten this thing already in the episode that, in fact, one of the first things in the episode is Shizue saying, don't touch me, to her mother.
Yeah.
And then we get this flashback of Shizue and this guy pressing into her.
It almost seemed like a potentially a rape scene.
Yeah, very much sexual.
In her memory.
Yeah, very much sexual assault. And so she
her reaction, she can't keep her cookies down. She
literally
has a very physical reaction just to the memory.
Yeah, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so we get some back and forth between Shizue and the mother.
Manaka's mom.
Yeah, Manaka's mother. Thank you. Yeah. And whereupon, and then we get some wonderful stuff with the doctor about strength
and PTSD
and this whole question of and the doctor says these very interesting things. She says some women are better off weak, of course. Some women prefer to be the weak person who gets pushed around by a guy, and that's just how they'd rather live deep down. Now, what's interesting about that is how Shizue responds, which is she's kind of shocked and disagrees. And then the doctor's response is kind of like, oh, okay, you really do have some strength. Cool. So the question is the doctor...
Was that a test or was that... what was that? That left me wondering.
Right. It's very interesting. And we've already seen the doctor say some very odd things.
Yes.
In the past. She has some very specific, strange perspectives on things. But there's also, gosh, her expressions throughout the entire thing is very controlling in a weird way.
Does the doctor give her a shot at that point?
It's never stated.
But it's looking.
That is certainly an implication here.
Yeah,
that's what's going on. And there's this wonderful line in here. I think it was at this point where
monsters are chasing my mom.
And I not only that, the beginning of the line is monsters are coming.
Monsters are coming.
Which is, boy, is that not the series in and of itself?
That's
true.
Scene 6, the present.
Yeah, and so here, and so we get more with that diaries in the back, and we get this lovely little flashback to them going to the grave, and Shizue seems pretty normal.
Yeah, she's actually processed some of her stuff. She's wearing something cheerful.
Yeah,
she's dealt with her emotions, and now she's ready to move to a different spot where her mom is still repressing those emotions and trying to appear strong, but the avoidance as a coping mechanism keeps it's not really courage. It's now a crutch.
It is, exactly. And this is our first hint for the series. We just hit the commercial break, and this is our first hint in the series that things are not all as they seem. We've been given this more or less straightforward narrative up to this point, and now we're discovering that there's a little bit. It's a little bit more complex than that.
Yeah.
And so we get more of this, and then we have this fascinating scene of Shizue's mother at work leaving, and she's talking to a coworker. She says, "You should go home."
But it seems like there might be a little bit of romantic interest there at that point.
So, he walks over, puts a hand on her, and what does she say her reaction is?
What was her reaction? It was
all the strength drained from my body.
Yeah.
Strength.
Strength. Well, the appearance of her shell of strength has vaporized, but her loneliness.
And that's the thing, is that, you know, she has been, she's lost her husband. She's had to get a job, and that's one of the things they explicitly said, is that she found a job.
Yeah,
because now she has to support her daughter and save up for college and all these things. And suddenly, a man is showing interest in her.
She doesn't have to be the backbone of the necessarily as that she used to be. And
it's almost undoubtedly the first time in years that she's had to even think about that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of these feelings are racing through her heart about, is this right? Is this appropriate? All these things. And a wonderful shot of Shizue running upstairs.
Her
ghost. And the mother goes after her, and it's just and that's where we see the empty room with all the boxes. Yeah.
Initially, I thought, well, that's because she died, but no, it's because she's also packing.
And that was the other hint, is that, you know, 5 years afterwards, you probably wouldn't have a few boxes sitting around.
Yeah.
And so now we discover that Shizue's mother was canoodling in a car with this fella. With this fella,
probably.
Yeah, and Shizue saw it.
Yeah, Shizue dumped a boy, and then there's some concern about this. She's opening up to the doctor again, and the doctor mentions that her first impression of sex was the exposure of her mom with somebody other than her dad. So, and that's when we discover the full sequence before, where this young man is with her, and she says stop, and he kids,
and he says I'm sorry, I can't help myself. She shoves him down and runs off.
Yeah,
nothing happened. Well, I mean, other than a guy getting too
nothing
fresh.
we know of, yeah.
But he certainly, you know,
but she's more affected.
Yeah. So you know, it's not that she was assaulted per se in a completely physical sense, but the sense that
her emotional state,
yeah,
having that kind of experience again after the exposure,
it was really tough. So we see things are much more complicated than they were, than we thought they were.
She's not entirely strong. She can't handle that yet.
And that's one of the points, is that, you know, the mother is being strong for the daughter. The daughter can't be that strong.
Yeah,
she's a young teenager. She just can't process all this on her own. It's also worth pointing out that every time we cut back to a shot of Shizue in the psychiatrist's office, she is curled over on herself.
Yeah.
She just looks miserable,
closed down,
totally closed down. And part of that is, you know, apparently stomach cramps, but it's this idea not just of, you know, this kind of abject misery, but also of being, as you said, closed down. You know, very, very much curled in on herself.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Whereupon Shizue explains that, you know, I buried myself in my schoolwork, and I did everything I was supposed to do. And again, we see the doctor with that very interesting expression on her face.
Yeah, there was something about Shizue saying the diary and the dandelion.
Yes, so flowers are an important thing about this. And she talks about how she wants to be a dandelion because dandelions are spread by the wind far from their parents. So she can be far away from all of these
trying
feelings.
To avoid all the stuff that she has to deal with.
Yeah. And I think it's a great point about how they're making the point that by not dealing with this stuff, by not being upfront with Shizue's response is going as far away from it as possible. You know, if the mother had just been more direct and been more, you know, honest with her daughter, you know, she probably wouldn't be pulling away as much. Now we get this very interesting animation where the mother is sitting there, kind of sobbing to herself, and then a memory butterfly comes along and then breaks. First time we've seen that. And so she looks up and she sees Shizue as a ghost.
Whoa.
And when we've seen ghosts before, but this is the first time that has been directly connected. Another one breaks, and we see this very interesting sequence. It's very, very brief, very hard to see, but it looks like Boogiepop is fighting somebody, and it looks like Boogiepop just killed and dissolved the doctor.
Strange.
Very strange. Now, to that point, we also know that there are multiple phantoms running around. So I suspect that is the Dr. Phantom, but I'm not sure. So now we cut back to Shizue and the mother. And now we get kind of the emotional core of the episode and the reason these characters are together. Because Manaka's mother is very much struggling with this pregnancy. It's obviously very difficult for her. But there is no question in her mind that she wants to have this baby, despite multiple people suggesting that she abort it.
It's funny that she says she's going to name her baby after a flower.
Yeah.
Manaka.
Mm-hmm. And
after the dandelion thing and with the
right,
well, all the butterflies.
Right. Well, that's a very interesting idea.
And then previously we saw she had a flower in her mouth at the end. Well, that was different, but
yes, exactly.
Her grandmother, I guess.
But yes, and that is precisely kind of why we're seeing some flower imagery here. And even to that point, the Manaka's mother gives her kind of a sex talk and says that flowers are the two faces of a woman.
The two faces of a woman. The woman is the flower side, and the mother, the second face, is the leaf side. And she's realized that now, having been pregnant, that there are two faces.
Yeah, it's faces and phases, really, in a sense.
Really.
And I love that this whole idea that there is the pretty side of you, and girls want to, or frequently want to look look attractive. But then also there's the nourishing side.
I found it interesting that she points out here that she has a white hair. She did the same thing with her mother earlier on, and it seemed to almost parallel that. And here's the different phases: your mom,
yes,
or you're beautiful, and pointing out that, hey, you got a gray hair, you're getting old,
right?
You're in mom phase now. You're not in beauty flower.
Exactly, and that is exactly that implication that as you age, your priorities change, and suddenly now you have a responsibility. And it's the lovely depth of this series is that they're saying not only the series is not just saying about how the mother is, making her mistakes. They're also pointing out how the daughter is making her mistakes.
The same as she turns away when her mother needs support.
Yeah. And how the daughter doesn't realize the fact that, her mother is doing so much for her. And the daughter's kind of all wrapped up in herself.
And it just reinforces the separation.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite sad.
All the different phases of grieving haven't been gone through. And
the wonderful, of course, other implication of that is the fact that flowers leaf and bloom. It's not one or the other.
Yeah.
Indeed, the leaves are there much longer than the flowers are. So there's that implication as well. That it's not just saying that your mother is now past it. Your mother has her own story. Basically, is what it's saying there. And so the episode ends with this just heartbreaking moment where another butterfly appears, and there is Shizue in her house, in her kitchen,
Mom.
And she says, "I'm sorry,"
and
she just apologizes, and then she fades away, and that is all the mother is left with, is that memory. That kind of
painful memory and
again, this is and the hint here is with seeing the butterflies is the fact that, again, those are memories, those are not wishes,
and unresolved.
So that is what Shizue actually felt at the end.
Yeah,
Shizue actually did feel sorry for her mother, but was never able to tell her.
An unresolved emotion.
Yep. And we are left with a flower, not a dandelion.
Yeah.
A different flower, which I think is kind of a lovely metaphor that Shizue wants to be one thing, but she's actually another. Something actually far more beautiful.
Yeah.
In its own way. So that was Mother's Day. Very emotionally wrenching scene. I remember the first time I watched this episode, and again, to point out with the name of the episode isn't revealed until the end of the episode.
Mother's Day. Yeah.
I remember watching this episode and just tears started streaming out of my eyes, and then it ends with "Love Thy Mother."
That was
the
tough.
final shot.
You feel terrible when they can't resolve issues and then somebody dies and this just goes on and
but we are also left with, and interestingly, what is the actual final shot is this amusement park, and Monaka is running around with the butterflies. So we're reminded that Monaka's mother, even though she passed away, has left behind Monaka, and Monaka is still living and enjoying her life. So there is a lovely, hopeful final moment there for that character. So any final thoughts on Mother's Day?
Well, let's see. I'm still kind of wondering about the mystery of those cops.
Yeah.
That's left me wondering.
Well, we're about to see a little bit more about what was going on behind the body bag there.
Yeah.
So we'll find out there. In fact, let's go ahead and do that and switch back over to, and we'll talk about episode 7, Until You're in My Arms Again. Now, this has generated a little bit of controversy because the title, and I think we actually get the title here.
You are.
Yes, it's spelled.
Until you are E. You are.
It's spelled Until You Are E in My Arms Again. Now, the director was saying that when he saw that, he initially thought it was a typo, and he went back and was like, nope, it should be U-R-E. There's a reason for it.
U-R-E.
And so this episode, and again, we're not going to go, shot by shot through this one, but the story is about a sister and a brother, and their relationship is made pretty clear very, very early on. The first moment in the episode, and Boogiepop Phantom is a series which really focuses on that first line of dialogue. That is usually really a good hint is, I'm cold. Somebody is very cold. And we see this little girl who's very cold. And then we get this great sequence where some bullies are bullying a young man who proceeds to disassemble them.
Useless things.
Yeah.
Useless things are to be destroyed.
Yeah, that is exactly what he says. So we get this interesting element of this. Of this idea. And I should also point out, I mean, this is again kind of an indication of Boogiepop's just kind of budget. I'm starting here at 1 minute and 52 seconds, and we get basically the same shot with one intercut until 2:57. Wow, it's almost a minute-long shot of just this little.
We filled the show. Quick, some more.
Exactly. And it's very hard to see what's going on.
Very dark. And
it's this tiny little corner of the shot,
but you can hear.
So why do you think they did this?
It's part of it is emphasizing the dark there.
Yeah.
And to some degree, the dialogue that continues. Then you hear several different voices. Initially, they sound kind of, it could be not antagonistic, but then it moves into an area where it's obvious these guys are trying to get some money out of this guy, and it's not a friendly situation. It's an antagonistic situation of the guy's being shaken down, and we see him get upset about it and do something about it.
He sure does. And so one of the guys, and what's also interesting, it's not the same thing to each guy.
No, he breaks them in different ways.
Yeah. The first guy, he leans forward, and we see sort of blood and teeth pouring out of his mouth. The other guy, we literally see his hand kind of rip
into different all the bones.
Yeah, it all kind of spreads out. And then
how shall I kill thee? Let me count the ways.
But then his sister intervenes.
Stop, brother.
And this is where, again, this series kind of makes a left turn, where typically this would just be kind of a monster to be fought. But then we realize that there's this girl, intervening.
Sayako?
She is, let me just find that here. A little hard for me to remember. Sayako, I think.
Sayako?
Something like that.
I
think it's Sayaka or Sayako. I just kept referring to them
But
as
yeah,
sister and brother.
the sister, yeah.
So yeah, so they have this very interesting Sayoko. There we go.
Sayoko.
And so we have not only the until you're in my arms again, and then we get this interesting little line of text on the screen. There is no wish that doesn't come true. What do they mean by that? Well, we'll find out. So we discover a few things. First off, they have this. The brother is physically abusive to the sister.
Yeah.
She comes in to rescue him, and he literally kicks her in the stomach, and then shoves her down. It's a very hard shot to watch.
Yeah.
She doesn't complain or anything. She just takes it.
In fact, she she defends him after that too.
It's almost like she's used to it.
Yeah.
And then she knows he has this power.
Yeah.
And we see this key moment where she walks into his room as he's disassembling it, trying to find the parts that aren't useful.
And she can hear him muttering that I need to find out which parts are useless so I can remove them.
And what's also interesting about this is, this is a bit of a shout out to Lane, where there's a sequence where Lane walks into a room where a guy has opened up a computer and something's wrong with it, and he wants to fix it.
Tick.
Yes. And again, Lane's one of those shows that was not hugely popular in terms of making money and lots of people seeing it, but within the anime community, it got a fair amount of attention.
Visually incredible.
Yeah, amazing. So I think the makers of this would have been aware of Lane, especially for the fact that this sequence is not only referencing it, but it's also kind of the opposite. Lane walks in and fixes it. He is trying to disassemble it.
Yeah.
And granted, he is. I mean, so it's easy to go a little too obvious with this and say, "Oh, he just wants to find the useless things." When you have a computer, maybe
there's a reason stuff in.
Yeah, well, but also, especially if you bought one stock, there may be stuff in there that you don't really use. Part, yeah, they have an extra Ethernet card in there. Well, there's one already on the motherboard, whatever.
Like that.
Right. So I'm assuming the implication here is that this might have been a reasonable, initial.
Kid could be doing that.
Right, but also we see how he's laid everything out in exactly its place. Very methodical. And two things happen. One, the sister is kind of freaked out. So that's your suggestion that it's not just him being interested in this. He's done this before. He has a perhaps a little OCD or some kind of mentality of this. And she's kind of scared for him. But then the room is filled with light. Right
while he's muttering these things.
The incident. The column of light
incident.
And so we see that, and we know now that confers powers on people. And she's
got his powers.
Yep, she's figured this out right away, because we cut to this shot of him with this coffee. And now here's the implication for those again watching later. He's sitting there with a cup of coffee, and then she walks in the door and looks at him, and the coffee goes black, and this white stuff comes to the surface. He's separating the milk from the coffee.
Wow.
So he's able to literally disassemble.
That is wild.
These two things.
I hadn't noticed that before.
And he gets a little smile on his face. And then and the scene where he pulls up a kitten and shows her the kitten. And we don't even see what happens to him, but it's this wonderfully set up thing where, obviously trying to animate this would have been A, expensive, and B, just not very helpful.
Yeah.
So we pan up just past the kitten, and we see her horrified reaction. We see the blood splatter everywhere. And then we cut back to him holding his hands out with his tracksuit just covered in blood. And then her wonderful reaction that she literally just turns away.
Look at the maniacal look he's got.
Yeah.
And then he's sickened by it.
He's sickened by it. He literally throws up as a result of this. And we saw him throw up earlier.
Yeah.
So we get a bit more of this back and forth, and he's again physically abusive to her, which is kind of hard to watch. And she's talking about this, and she wonders, where did this come from? And then we get the whole backstory where he was very creative as a kid, and they were doing this whole thing with the Pied Piper in school.
And he's making his own costume.
He is, which is
Very creative.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's in junior high. He's in senior high, presumably going to the academy, Shinyo Academy. So he's 15-ish, and that was 5 years earlier. So he'd be 10.
That's pretty active for a kid that age.
Yeah. So,
very formative age.
Exactly. So the show does something important here, which again, as is typical for the series, it's important to kind of pay attention. Where she's thinking in school what's going on, and she says, "What happened? Like what's going on? What happened to him?"
Yeah.
And we hold on that for a while. And every time the series does that, you want to pay attention, because then this classmate comes in and asks if she's read the thing, and we find out that ironically, given the or coincidentally, given the Haruhi episode, she got a love letter from a boy, and a friend of his is asking what's going on because the guy's too chicken, and she says, "I'm sorry."
She turns
rejection.
down Takibana.
Yeah. So what's the implication there? What do you think they're getting at with that whole sequence? Do you think?
I'm wondering.
I think the point is she's closed down.
Yeah.
She's not letting people
in. What's going on
in.
with her?
Yeah. So she's all worried about her brother, but also she's like rejecting other people. Now here we get another great moment where this weird, like random, almost homeless looking guy walks into the police station and starts talking to Marita as though they've known each other all their lives.
Yeah, that was weird. And he rambles on about something about composite humans.
Right. And so Marita asks him who he is, and he replies with what is possibly the best name in the history of the world. "I am Spooky Electric."
It's Spooky Electric.
Wow. Great name. And so they're explaining there are these composite humans around, and they need to kill them all. Well, actually, I take that back. They're saying that there are these new humans around, and they need to kill them all. There's some new breed that needs to be taken care of.
So that was new, not composite, but the new breed.
Yeah. So the composites are trying to take out this new breed. So they can have this conversation. Oh,
look at that! That was the photo of what's her name and her daughter.
Yeah. And so the cop immediately looks at a photo of Manaka. And then as Spooky Electric is walking off, we see a flash.
Like a gun flash.
Yeah, from the room.
Or something worse.
Who knows?
Maybe it's spooky electricity. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. And so we cut back to Shinyo Academy. And so the sister is waiting for her brother at Shinyo Academy. And they go off, and he proceeds to kick her. And Kirima shows up. Nagi Kirima.
And she says, "Hey, you can't treat a girl like that."
Yeah. And he says, "Well, she's my sister." And she goes, "Well, that sure makes it fine."
Yeah.
Really?
No. She's like, no.
Yeah. And so there's this interesting line of dialogue. So Nagi, and it's interesting what happens here where he says, "Let me go." She doesn't let him go. Then he goes, "Let me go." And Nagi gets this expression on her face, and she pulls her hand away very, very quickly. And you realize it's not just frustration. She suddenly realizes there's more here than just people. We already know by now that Nagi has got some senses. And so the sister intervenes, and she says, "Not here," and runs off.
Yeah, that's weird. Why?
Well, yeah, and so and she goes off, and Nagi points out, "Why did you say not here instead of stop?"
They cut to the charm that she had dropped, and she ran off from Nagi.
And this is very important that Nagi has this charm, and she asks what's going on, and the sister just takes it and then runs off. This charm, and Nagi is not.
She's not happy. Unhappy Nagi.
Yeah, Nagi knows something more is going on.
But that charm holds a story.
Yes, it does. So now we get to find out what's going on with the charm. The siblings were lost
5 years ago.
Yeah. And we know this because we see a search party out there. They're kind of wandering around. And we see that the sister doesn't quite know what's going on. She's just tired and she's cold. And the brother is keeping up this very brave face and saying, "Don't worry, very soon." They come to a shed and stop in the shed. And the brother proceeds to carve this little figurine for her.
And carve a luck charm to find home.
Yeah, and gives that to her, and then says, "I'm going to go off and find help."
As he's carving it, he's telling her a story, calming her down, acting as a caring, loving brother.
Isn't it interesting? I mean, such a complete change in this.
And later on, when she was, I think when she was, she had a thought that her brother was not her real brother when she was confronted by Nagi, and she said it was. I forget whether it was internal dialogue or she said it as she's running off. She felt that it wasn't her real.
Yeah, but that he's coming back.
But he's coming back. Yeah,
and here's that implication: is that what did her brother do before?
Yeah,
he came back.
Yeah, he was caring, he was loving, he came back.
So she knows he's going
to. He's there. He's in there.
He's always there for her. And so that experience with him was what, clearly very much kind of tied her to him and made her just so infatuated with him.
And apparently she's kept the charm ever since that experience.
Totally. And so now we get some more backstory, and this is stuff that will actually carry forward to later episodes. Her father is clearly mentally disturbed. And they're playing around with this little model
of an amusement park.
Yes, Paisley Park, they call it.
And apparently it's to encourage the dad to feel better,
which is
after his breakdown to lead to his recovery.
Yeah, and get another scene actually of her at the hospital saying she's here and she wants to help her brother, and she says, "I'll do anything. I'll do anything for him, just as long as I can be by his side." And we get a sequence with Manaka. And so Manaka grants them a memory.
Hit them with a butterfly.
Exactly. Give them that butterfly. And so now we see what happened in the past is that their father was designing this amusement park.
Painful memory return.
Oh, gosh. And sadly, the brother, who is going to be the Pied Piper in the school play, asked if his father was going to come to Parents' Day. You promised to be there Parents' Day. Now, what is Parents' Day?
Parents' Day. That's where the parents come and meet the teacher. They meet each other, and they take the place of the kids, and it's very important.
It is very important. It only happens once a year, and what's significant about it is that not only your parents there, all your other friends are there
with their parents.
So if your parent isn't there, everyone knows it.
Oh, why isn't his parents there? The wonder.
And that's the thing. And they even mention it's going to be this Sunday. Now, Japan has famously long working hours, but Sunday is your day off. A lot of people work Sunday, but you don't. It is a day off. And so he says, "Sure, yeah, I'll be there."
Yeah.
And of course, he isn't.
Business takes place, and the father has to deal with that, and he misses. And we see him, his son, going on with the play of the Pied Piper.
And what is that wonderful line in the Pied Piper that the Pied Piper gives to all the parents? Your children will not be coming back.
I'm leading them off. I'm taking your children.
And why?
Because of
you've broken your promise.
Broke your promise. Yeah.
Now, this is working on a couple of different levels, because not only is it working as kind of his traumatic memory, what's been happening in all of Boogiepop Phantom? The children have been taken away.
Little by little.
Yeah, the children are being taken away.
Childhood loss.
Yeah. Something is happening here.
The loss of childhood.
And that goes even further. As I mentioned before, Boogiepop Phantom is fundamentally a series about adolescent philosophy. It's about what people believe as they're growing up, about how the world works. And this is very much about your children are being taken away, but also by simply growing up. Your children are maturing and growing up, and you better darn well do something about it. Time slipping by, you need to take an active part in all this. It's interesting. Boogiepop Phantom is one of the rare anime series where you see a lot of parents. Parents rarely show up in anime, but they are almost constant in Boogiepop Phantom. Partly because that is this message is that parents are important, and that relationship between the two is something that is, and also it's not, as we saw in Mother's Day, it's not just about the parent doing things. The children have to be open to that and have to be willing to take in that perspective of the parents. It's a two-way street. So things don't go too well for the Pied Piper. And so we cut back to the present day. We find out that Morita has gone to the hospital to find Monaka. But we find out Monaka has disappeared.
And he shows a photo of...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to... What's going on here? Oh, yes. So they're in the park with Monaka.
Paisley Park.
But... but they're attacked by Morita the cop. He finds them.
He punches the sister.
She falls to the ground.
And something kind of supernatural takes place.
Boy, he kind of slithers out of his cop uniform and wraps himself around the brother.
Like a snake, like a boa constrictor.
Yeah, well, what is his name? Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Oh, wow. He's squishing the guy.
He's squishing the guy, and the guy is freaking out. And the sister finally is able to, she finally regains consciousness and sees this. And again, interestingly, Snake Eye looks down at her and his eyes widen. And then suddenly he splits apart. He is dismembered.
Wow.
And the brother, and she's suddenly very cold. So what's going on here? And so as we discover later on is because who should show up but Poom Poom, who we've seen before, who leads Monaka away.
Kind of like a Pied Piper.
Yeah, kind of like a Pied Piper, indeed. And we'll find out a little later on what's going on with him. But we then discover, or the sister then realizes the big twist. The brother doesn't have any power.
She thinks she had the power to grant wishes.
Yeah.
She was the one who got the power from Lighten. The brother chooses...
He chooses the target.
But the sister grants the wish.
Yeah. So they discover this, and it's this interesting kind of connected ability.
Yeah.
Where that, and so before, when we've seen the Column of Light event, everyone who's been hit by the Column of Light event has been alone. They were together. So they got a linked power, if you will. She was able to kind of act as a conduit. She was the kind of the trigger, if you will, while he was the gun sight, so roughly speaking. And so she realized she was the one kind of responsible for all of this. She was the one saying, if you want to be able to disassemble things, I will give you that power. If you want to be able to do all these things, I will give you that power. And so they're finally huddled together in these final moments. Again, very, very dark imagery.
And then as it progresses, we see just as they take solace in each other, just an empty space, and was it the charm?
The charm, there? Yeah.
That she never lets go of.
Yeah. Well, and they get up and they walk off. Well, they don't even get up and they walk off. You don't see them.
They've gone somewhere.
And
I presume with Poom Poom.
Possibly, quite possibly. we'll find out soon. But it's interesting how, and she also says, "Welcome back, brother."
Yeah, and he seems like he's come back from his behavior. It's almost like that recognition of their power and the way that they've been handling things resolves the issue.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is that one of the key things about Boogiepop Phantom in terms of the powers is that the powers are simply powers. They grant you abilities. They don't make you smarter. They don't grant you insight about the nature of people.
You mean you're not smarter if you eat bugs off people?
Nope. So they're absolutely able to process and get better and learn things as people. And indeed, at that point, we saw he was already kind of neurotic at the beginning of the episode, even before he had the powers. So it was them able to process that, to be able to kind of move on and figure out what's going on. And again, to that point, I mean, he obviously cared about his sister.
Yeah.
And so once he realized that she was doing all this for him, that must have been a very traumatic, very kind of moment for him. And so the episode ends with that surprise, and it's kind of harkens back to the episode with Ponaru, where you realize that there are characters who have these relationships to what's going on, but are not even central to the storyline.
By far, this series is the most intensely, densely packed with mystery of any anime I've encountered so far. There's just so much to it.
Yeah, the English director of this said, he has never seen an anime more densely packed than Boogiepop Phantom.
That's a good description.
Yeah, it's just there is so much stuff going on, and unfortunately, a lot of people just kind of either treat it as intentionally dark and confusing, and so just don't go too deep. Or they look for the most obvious explanations for things, and
watch 2 or 3 times and still.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything here is going somewhere. It is very. It's not just densely packed; it's very deliberately packed. And in fact, I apologize. That was his word. He's never seen a more deliberate anime series than Boogiepop Phantom.
Yeah.
Phrases, numbers, imagery, flowers. The dandelion is a specific kind of flower, which is saying things. Yeah, the gray hair is a very carefully structured series. So, next episode is called is about her way of life, and we will see where that goes
next time.
All right, so that is that. So, because we thankfully have managed to run the puppets out of the room.
Oh,
I know
it was tough to vanquish those puppets.
It really was. So we are going to move on to the news for the week. And it's been a little over a week. So we have some news to cover. And for some reason, I can't get the audio working back up on the Horizons thing. So we're just going to have to do that for now, which is just the way of life. So let me move over because we actually have background stuff on this, which is kind of cool.
Oh, Speed Racer!
Exactly, isn't that cool?
Wow.
So
I like that.
So 1 second, guy, because I do not have the news pulled up in the normal place.
Speed Racer is making the news.
It is. Imagine that.
I think a few years back there was a live action.
There
Speed
was
Racer.
Wachowski's brothers. Speed Racer series, but Funimation announced several big licenses this weekend at Otakon. It will release the classic Speed Racer in Japanese with English subtitles and with the original dub.
Whoa.
And it will also include episodes that have never been released in North America before. Pretty cool. No release date yet on that. Funimation will also release the weird sci-fi dimension-hopping thriller Noin to Your Other Self on Blu-ray in November. I don't have a slide for that one. Then in 2016, they will release all 3 upcoming Project Ito films. Very interesting project here. They were all written by the same author who sadly passed away recently. But each film is being done by a different director in a different studio.
Wow.
So the first film, called Genocidal Organ, will be directed by Shuko Murase, Witch Hunter Robin, Gangsta, and Ergo Proxy. Wow. That'll be done at Manglobe. Yeah. We've both seen Witch Hunter Robin. We both love that. The second film, Harmony, will be directed by Takashi Nakamura of Fantastic Children and Michael Arias of Tekken King Crete. And that'll be at Studio 4C. And the third film, The Empire of Corpses, will be directed by Ryotaro Makihara of the movie Hal. Funimation finished its announcements with a license of the second season of Assassination Classroom. Pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, a Japanese man was arrested for threatening a voice actor on Twitter.
Oof.
The suspect tweeted, "I will hurt you at the August concert," to voice actor Satomi Sato, who voiced Ritsu on K-On! And Wendy in Fairy Tail.
Oh, cool.
He was apparently a fan of her work in K-On!, but he felt she had been ignoring him.
Oh, voice actors don't have that much time to talk to each individual fan.
I have to say, yeah. Police believe he bought a ticket to the concert and formed a concrete plan to attack the actress. Yeah, that's too bad.
That's pretty serious stuff, folks. Don't get too involved in that. Meanwhile, Viewster, a video streaming site, has announced a new subscription server called Omakase, which will offer 3 kinds of content. Now, I didn't get this until they explained it in the news story. Do you recognize that word, omakase? It took me a while to recognize it. We'll get to that in a second. So the subscription service has these 3 kinds of content. The first is an ad-free, high-definition anime streaming service that'll include both simulcasts and older shows. That's good. The second is a box of merchandise that will be shipped to subscribers every other month, and will include items like exclusive editions of manga and figurines.
Oh, nice.
So you get this stuff delivered to you every other month. The third content has not been announced yet, so we'll see.
Voice actors. No.
Yeah, maybe. Delivered to your door. The video in this mysterious third service will also be available on mobile devices, which hints that maybe it's manga, online manga. I don't know. But they haven't said. Omakase will launch in the fall of this year. No news yet on price, but it will bill every other month along with that. What Omakase is when you enter a sushi restaurant and you sit down and you want to tell the sushi chef, basically, I will take whatever you want to give me.
Oh.
You say omakase.
Oh.
Which is basically a sign of respect to the sushi chef to say, whatever you think is.
What do you recommend?
Yeah, what's in season, whatever is good. So it ties in beautifully as this idea of we're going to send you stuff that we've handpicked.
That is cool.
It's really interesting. So again, who knows where it's actually going to go, but that is the plan. Omakase.
Cool. Kodansha USA announced a point of pride.
Cool.
There are now 2.5 million copies of the English Attack on Titan manga in print.
Wow.
That includes the first 15 volumes. But before you think that's too big, remember there are 44 million copies of those first 15 volumes in Japanese. 44 million copies.
Of one manga. One manga.
Oh my.
Amazing. Finally, Mamoru Hosoda's The Boy and the Beast just keeps raking in dough in theaters. In its third weekend in Japanese theaters, it's still the second most popular film, having earned $2.7 million US this weekend, which brings its total gross to just over $20 million so far, which for its third week in Japan, that's very, very good. Meanwhile, the latest Pokemon movie in its second weekend has moved down to number 4, and the Love Live movie hovered at number 7 in its 7th weekend, making a total of 16 million so far. So it's already done well better than Love Live in less than half the time, which is pretty darn cool. So let's move on to Kickstarters.
Kickstarters. There's another Otaku Guide to Tokyo on Kickstarter, this time from Drew Poyorina as a series of videos.
Interesting.
The only backer level is at $20, at which your name will be mentioned in the credits. There are no rewards. He hasn't run or even backed a Kickstarter before, but he does have 2 videos on a YouTube channel for you to check out.
Cool.
He's asking for $1,000, and there's 21 days to go with only $1 pledge so far.
All right. Well, here's hoping. Hard to tell. I mean, it's kind of tough with that little information to kind of see where it's going. But yeah,
I prefer to have a few more videos from him so I could see what his style is.
Exactly. And also the Kickstarter is kind of vague on exactly what. Well, it is vague on how many videos he'll make or whatever. So that hopefully he'll update with a little more specific plans. I think partly he just doesn't quite know. Finally, the Asterion French-Japanese interactive anime series Kickstarter didn't even fail to reach its goal. It was canceled by the staff. However, its creators posted an update saying they'll be back in September with a new campaign. And they want to tweak it based on feedback to this campaign. So I think their idea was they knew they weren't going to get there. They only got about 33,000 euros out of 135,000 euros they were looking for. And so I think they realized kind of a better way of going about it, perhaps more reasonable goals for it. So they said, rather than failing, we're just going to stop right now and reassess and come back later. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what they did.
Reevaluate.
Exactly. All right, so let's move out to the anime releases of the week. We'll start with Aniplex, who released I'll Know Zero Volume 1 on DVD and Blu-ray. These are all MSRPs. $40 for the DVD, which would mean about $25 retail, and Blu-ray limited edition $95. They also released Persona 4: The Golden Animation Volume 1, Blu-ray only, for about $100, and that is sub only. What's going on in the world of Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll Discotheque has released Galileo. Am I saying this right? Galileo.
I think
Galilei Dana,
Mm-hmm.
the complete collection.
Cool.
And also recently, My Sister is Unusual, the complete collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if this next one includes Crunchyroll, but
I think it's just Discotheque.
Just Discotheque.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Monster Farm, the complete collection.
Oh, cool.
Now the Galilei Dana is going for about $40 sub, and the recently My Sister is Unusual is about the same price. Monster Farm, however, is about $80.
And the reason for that is, you ever seen Monster Farm back in the day?
I have not seen Monster
So it's
Farm.
one of those collectible monster shows like Pokemon or Digimon. So kid runs around with these monsters that fighting monster show, I guess. So the reason it's $80 is it's an entire like fighting monster show. So I don't know how many episodes it was. It certainly wasn't as long as some of the other ones, but it's a lot of episodes on that. So that's it's a lot of stuff. Also interesting, it's sub only. I'm sure it was. I'm sure that the dub was just one of those things where it would add X to the cost and yeah. Anyway, moving on to Funimation, which with Otakon released a whole bunch of stuff just in time for Otakon. The Dot Hack GU trilogy was released for $30 sub only. BlazBlue Alter Memory, the complete collection Blu-ray DVD combo pack, was released for $65. 009 Re-Cyborg, also in Blu-ray DVD combo, was $35. Inari Kon complete collection on Blu-ray and DVD combo is $60. That's sub only. I haven't seen that yet. Have you heard of a series called Full Metal Alchemist?
I'm not sure. That
seems vaguely familiar.
Somewhere I might have heard about.
Yeah, weird. See that's the one with the girl in the suit of armor, right?
That's the one with that guy who repairs stuff.
Yeah, Antoine, something like that.
And was it Philip?
I think Philip. Yeah. All the villains are named after virtues, something like that.
That sounds good, somewhat familiar.
Okay, I think that's it.
Virtues.
So the Full Metal Alchemist movie Conqueror of Shambhala is now out on Blu-ray for only $20, which is pretty darn cheap. And again, that'll be probably 12 or so on Amazon. The complete collection, and so they basically released a whole bunch of Soul Eater and Soul Eater Not. So the original Soul Eater complete collection is available on Blu-ray for $130. That's 50 episodes of anime. So it'll end up being probably about $1.20 an episode. Soul Eater Not complete collection is available on Blu-ray DVD combo standard edition for $65, limited edition for only $5 more, which is rather nice. If you like Tokyo Ravens, the second part of that, that's what we saw at the end of Otakon, right? Yeah,
that was great.
That was a fun show.
If you get a chance to see it, it was. We both laughed.
It was really,
it was
really
a lot of fun
series. Blu-ray DVD combo for part 2 is $65 for Tokyo Ravens. And then To, aka T.O., the film collection, is available on DVD. It's a save edition for only $25. That's Funimation.
Pat Labor. Pat Labor 2, the movie by Made in Japan. Made in Japan. I love that name.
It's great.
The DVD is going to go for about $30. The same show in Blu-ray will go for about $40. What's Sentai works?
Sentai. So Sentai's got a bunch of stuff. Guardian Ninja Mamoru complete collection. Never heard of it before in my life. Sorry, fans. Available for $50, sub only. No Game, No Life complete collection on DVD available for $60, and same thing on Blu-ray for $70. And the complete collection Blu-ray DVD combo CE, I'm assuming that means collector's edition.
That makes sense.
Is $130. I haven't tracked down what's on that, but I'm going to assume there's some really cool stuff in there if the price is that high. And Sentai Films has also released Windy Tales, the complete collection, for $50. That is sub only. How about Viz? Viz have anything?
Viz. Naruto.
Oh,
Shippuden.
Oh yes, I think some folks have heard of that before.
Yeah, that's it. That's that show with the orange balls, right?
That's the one. Yes, exactly. Oh god. Well, yeah, the one with the orange balls and the samurai who goes around doesn't like to kill people anymore. That's Naruto. Yes, I think he has a big pirate ship too. How many sets are they up to now?
23.
Gosh.
Set 23. Wow, the series that just will never end.
Exactly.
23 sets. Wow. But they're going to sell that for $45.
Not bad. Yeah, definitely. Cool. So I think that's it. Thanks to AnimeNewsNetwork.com and DVD Talk Forum for the links and info in this news, and all the Kickstarters out there. Kickstarters have gotten a little quieter of late. We had like 4 or 5 for a while, so hopefully that'll pick back up. But that's it for the news. That's the news from around the world and in your backyard. Exactly, and from Japan and America and everywhere else. It seems. In between, everywhere in between. The intergalactic spiral arm of the Andromeda Strait. Having seen Otaku no video, now we're thinking in those big senses. From the planet of Otaku. From the Otaku planet to your backyard. Thanks, guys. Thanks. So, Monster. Oh! You're right, Kaiser. I was thinking Monster Rancher, not Monster Farm. Let me double check that. Monster Farm. It is possible that Monster. That okay. They just renamed. Oh wait, there was a Monster Farm. Is it Monster Farm? It can't be. Monster Farm. Young man sitting named Jack Haiti. Taylor Grant. That can't be it. It was a 1-season animation. Maybe it was Monster Farm. I'm seeing a TV series of 48 episodes from 1999 to 2000. So that's Monster Rancher. So they must have renamed Monster Rancher to Monster Farm. So it was named Monster Farm in Japan. Official title was. They named it Monster Rancher over here. Oh, so that's actually both of them. So that's actually the correct Japanese name. They renamed it to Monster Rancher over here for its original release. Now for the DVD release, they're calling it Monster Farm again. That's interesting. I had no idea of that. That's very, very odd. So we are now looking at the chat room, folks. Sorry, we did glance back in during the live show, but folks were pretty quiet, so there wasn't much to respond to there. But I see it's picked back up again. Let's see. We'll catch up on what everybody's been saying. Yes, this is live. You don't notice when you're not really looking. Quick into the DeLorean for Kyon. That'd be funny. Is there any other anime that has its later season taking place within the first season? That's a good question. I can't think of any. They're all pretty chronological. Oh, whenever I shuffle my collection and look in the wrong day. Yeah. Does Rurouni Kenshin do that later on? Do they tell the backstory in the? I don't think they do. There's something with a prequel that came out. Yeah, afterwards. Well, I know in the manga they spend a lot of time later on in the manga explaining the characters' backstories, Kenshin's backstory. So that kind of, sort of, technically, but certainly not to the level that Haruhi does. And there's the new Speed Racer show. That's a good point, Liquid Snake. Go Speed Racer. Yeah, about Speed Racer's son, because that's a great idea. It's one of those things. Yeah, exactly. Liquid is. It's like the Loot Crate. Have you seen Loot Crate? No. So basically, you sign up, and I think every month they send you. Cool. Yeah, they just kind of send you random stuff. Loot. Will Right Stuff release any more Gundam anytime soon? So. They haven't stated. The next episode of Gundam Gundam The Origin is coming out in, I think, November. Episode 2 of that. So we have that to look forward to. I believe they said that Original Gundam will be coming out later this year. But we don't have a release date on that. So I think that's the next thing we had to look forward to. But yeah, it's Turn A, and then now Mobile Suit Gundam. Which show? Sorry, Turn A Gundam was what they just released, and that was in the 20th anniversary series. So that's now out on DVD, and then original Mobile Suit Gundam will come out on Blu-ray in the fall. But we just don't know when exactly. Persona 4, the anime. Persona 4 Golden, the anime. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, they just call it Persona 4. What was that? Persona 4 Golden, the animation. Persona 4. Persona 4 the Golden Animation was what they called in here. I have no idea what that is. Persona 4 the animation. Well, I know that there is Persona 4 the animation. There's Persona 4 the Golden Animation. I don't know if that's what that is. And then there's I just got BlazBlue Liquid. Cool. Yeah. So it is an actual release. So Sentai is where was that? Monster Farm. So Discotek is releasing Monster Farm / Monster Rancher complete on DVD. $80 gives you the entire thing, the entire show. Which that was first release was Monster Rancher video. No, I want to know. This is the Monster Rancher anime. That's 73 episodes. So that's going to be, wow. Well, let's just find out. So I'm just going to go on Amazon here real quick and look that up. Amazon Echo, Monster Farm in movies and TV, Monster Farm. Yeah, so that's $60 on Amazon right now. So that is going to be, so it's technically $9.99 divided by 73. So that's 82 cents an episode.
That's a good price.
No kidding.
I'd pay for that.
It's a kid show, but that's certainly unreasonable. They have not. I did not see whether it was really totally fully uncut. I know Monster Rancher was one of the more tended to have a little bit more, blood and violence and such than your average monster fighting show. So I know a fair amount of that was edited down for American television. So I don't know how much of that was released. The fact that this is subbed indicates there's probably not a lot of editing to it because it's not being aimed at a kid release. It's a good thing. And Discotek released the old dub for Monster Rancher. So apparently, so that also implies that they released the old dub. That was probably the original edited version. So this is probably a sub release of the original uncut, like Yu-Gi-Oh is getting now, where they're now releasing Yu-Gi-Oh uncut. I think all the fans of that are now old enough. It's like you're not gonna get a lot of 10-year-olds who are like, "Ooh, Monster Rancher." It's like that. That's nostalgia now. It's a fun series. I watched a few episodes. This is how old I am while it was airing on television, and it was a fun, light adventure show as they should be. At least the episodes I saw. It's being released to X Kids exactly. So let's see here. Anything else interesting on that? So we're back from Otakon. We should probably talk a little bit about what Otakon was like.
I want to see the rest of that Ravens anime.
Yeah, Tokyo Ravens. That was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Yeah. How would you describe Tokyo Ravens?
Very amusing. We jumped in a few episodes into it, so it took a little while to figure out what was going on, and when I did, it quickly drew me in. So, and they left it on a good cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's one of these sort of magical academy kind of shows, I guess.
Didn't get to see the end.
No.
The tail
Which end?
Caught the tail end of episode 4.
Oh gosh. Yeah. He did.
I'm not sure how it works, but
yeah. So it's one of these. And the neat thing is, it's teenagers at sort of a magical training academy, and they're and the main character.
What was it? A double of some sort.
Familiar.
A familiar.
Yeah.
A familiar.
And so you can be a familiar of kind of these mages, and the main character is actually a familiar, and so sort of following him in his life. So we'll see there. And what's neat is that at least the episodes I saw, there was certainly action back and forth, but it was a bit more relational. It was a bit more about how the characters dealt with each other, which was nice. It wasn't just monster fight of the week, which you often get.
I like having a little bit of interpersonal relationship there and the dynamics of that.
Yeah, so really spending some time on that is nice. Right, so Vampire Hunter D is coming out from Sentai Filmworks. Well, let's see here. Let me just pull up the list of upcoming releases, and we'll see what is coming up new that is particularly interesting. While we were at Otakon, we got some stuff, whole bunch of cells. That was awesome.
Oh, the cells.
We'll have to bring that in and show them off at some point.
The cells are nice.
And I bought Gargantia of the Verger's Planet and Dalos because I had watched that completely illegally and wanted to get a full version of that. So coming up in August, let's see here. It's funny, they're listing Turn A Gundam Part 2. It's already out.
Future Diary.
Future Diary, that should be interesting. Basilisk. Kite on Blu-ray. You know, the re-release of Haite the Combat Butler, I'd like to see. That's a fun one. I do want to at some point watch X because it was a very popular series. Unfortunately, it is also a very over-the-top dark series, which kind of didn't interest me much when I saw it. But Vampire Hunter D, I will almost certainly buy Vampire Hunter D when it comes out. Also, oh, here's a big one: Robot Carnival.
Robot
Carnival. It's a movie composed of several short films, basically all about robots. Very classic thing, came out in the 80s. A lot of really neat people who were doing things and went on to do other great things. Really, really neat movie. So yeah, I would say Vampire Hunter D and Robot Carnival are two big ones. Looking forward further.
Space Dandy.
Yeah.
Isn't that already out though?
That's interesting. Is it season 2? Let's see, where are we? Whoops.
I thought I saw that at the Funimation booth.
Yeah. Let's see here. Space Dandy season 2.
Oh, it's the combo pack. Yeah, I think they only have the Blu-ray.
Okay, yeah, Blu-ray DVD combo pack. I took a Google.
I really like Space Dandy.
Go Nagai World should be interesting. Go Nagai is the guy who did Mazinger Z and Get a Robo and a lot of the early giant robot shows. So that's sort of a collection of stuff. Super Dimension Century Orgus was a very significant mecha show, so that has me intrigued. Haven't seen that yet, but it should be fun.
Ghost in the Shell Rise.
Yeah.
One thing that was interesting, there were some folks from NASA.
Yes.
That
was cool.
Talked about anime and space. And Space Dandy just kind of jogged my memory on that. They covered 3 different space animes and discussed some of the problems with the reality of space in relation to, well, this makes a good story, but the physics of this may not necessarily jibe, but it's pretty close in this area. It's real far off on that area.
What was one they started with?
Let's see. They had 3. They had
Planet Test was first.
Planet Test, and they had Bebop.
Yeah, Bebop.
And what was the third one?
I can't remember the third one.
It wasn't the Space Brothers. It was a different one.
No, it was something else.
Outlaw Star? No. That would have been a good one.
It would. Bebop's the one that really stuck in my mind. Gosh, I can't remember.
Suddenly I can't remember, but it'll come back to me.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So it's it was something with the apogee or the not the apogee, the 3 different the 6 different.
Oh, it was Gundam. Mostly Gundam, right? Yeah. It wasn't clips. They were just talking about the Lagrange points.
Lagrange points. That's it.
There we go.
And so they use that as an example. Hey, these really exist, and this is how it works. There's these different. There's a space in between 2 bodies where the dynamic pull of gravity is at equanimity. You add in several different other bodies, and you have a very sort of strange pull on things. And this actually was a real thing, and it was used in Gundam, and it was a great point to show where the physics actually matches the story, and you can look at that and say, hey, that's real.
Yeah, exactly. One of the neat things about that actually is and I almost wanted to kind of stand up in the middle of the presentation and kind of talk about this more, because what's neat about the show is that you get they had this idea that if you have this big honking thing out in space, and actually multiple big honking things, one thing they kind of got wrong in the presentation was that they said that a space colony was a side. A side is actually a cluster of space colonies. So side 3 is several dozen space colonies. And the idea is you had these giant things. They're miles long. You really, really, really do not want it falling into the orbit of a world, and
decaying orbit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very bad thing. So anywhere you can position it where you have to do the least amount of repositioning is very important. And so the idea is you put all your colonies at Lagrange points. And so the brilliant thing in Gundam that you kind of don't see as much is the fact that you have to hop from Lagrange point to Lagrange point because there are different things in different places. It's a really, really neat idea. It was kind of sad what they said about Bebop.
Yeah, well, to some degree, yeah. I mean, I knew there's got to be certain give and take for telling a story, and they can only research so far to get it absolutely scientifically accurate. But the fantasy is there. So the episode was, I forgot the title of the episode.
Wild Horses.
Wild Horses, the one with the space shuttle.
And I think we all saw that episode and thought, they're stretching it a little bit.
How are they doing that? Well, they must have some super powered fuel that's going to be allowed to.
I don't know about you, but when I saw that Spike was having trouble, and then I saw them wheeling out the space shuttle and launching it like two guys launching a space shuttle. I thought that was stretching it a little bit, but okay.
I buy into it. Okay,
right. It was awesome sequence.
Part of me's going,
exactly.
Yeah. That's not possible, but yeah.
Well, that was what both of them said. Is that we both love both the NASA scientist and the other guy who was an enthusiast said we both love this show. Don't get us wrong. It's great.
Feel a tear coming to my eye.
Totally. But the physics are okay. Not quite so much. I have not seen The World Is Still Beautiful. As Liquid Sticks said, I've heard of it, but I don't think I have.
Around 1/2/7, yeah.
Mildly familiar. The World Is Still Beautiful.
That looks like an interesting
thing. It's pretty. The fourth princess of the Rain Dukedom holds the power to call forth the rain, travels to the Sun Kingdom to marry the Sun King. But he's only 3. She's thrown into jail, and then they come to establish an emotional bond. So it looks like a shoujo series. Sweet. Let's pull up some images here. Oh.
Got any you can throw up on the big screen here for us?
Good point. Whoops. I will need to first pull that out of full screen so it's not dominating. That's rather pretty.
Yeah.
I'll watch that. Looks cute.
Check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, annoying kid, pampered, annoying, little boy. And then the girl he's supposed to marry who is more or less more mature than he is. Although apparently not so much sometimes. But that's fine. Looks like a fun show.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll have to check that out. Because of course we don't have any anything else to watch. Yeah, don't let the real science run sci-fi. That's just a science fetish. Yeah. Well, and there is, there's always a balance to be struck.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to give things infinite bullets, right?
Yeah.
Like a revolver, infinite bullets.
I'd like to see somebody run out too soon.
Yes.
Ah,
yeah.
Whoa.
It's something I actually see a lot in Jackie Chan movies.
Jackie Chan's good.
Yeah, they pay attention to that.
His surprise shock.
Yeah.
Now I got to find another solution to this problem. Jackie Chan rocks.
He does. His films are fantastic. His Hong Kong films are fantastic. His Hollywood films are sometimes awesome and sometimes more mediocre. But his Hong Kong stuff is great. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yep. Well put, Kaiser. So there's a lot you have to.
That's funny. That's
yep. There's a lot to be to understand about how things actually work. It's I love what Ray Bradbury always said. He said, my science fiction. I was never trying to predict the future. I was trying to prevent it. It's that idea that science fiction is never attempting to predict exactly what will happen in the future. It's saying here is a possible trend. Here is somewhere we could go.
I think that's why I like all the dystopias and things that end up badly, like the Twilight Zone episodes. It's not a happy ending.
Right.
We could have avoided this if mankind was better to each other.
Yeah.
When aliens invade, be sure you don't give up. All the different points of their show.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for. To answer your question, Liquid Snake, a good Clamp series. I definitely agree. Angelic Layer is my first suggestion because it is specifically aimed at a boy audience while also retaining all of their cute style and approach. It is basically like Gundam Build Fighters or some of these other plastic model doll fighting shows. Same concept, but with a girl and fighting in arenas with other characters. And it has relationships, it has battles, it has struggles, it has all the classic shonen elements of getting your way through the championships and trying to do all that stuff. And so, Angelic Layer is a really, really solid one. I haven't seen much Clamp, but that was certainly sticks out. And then Cardcaptor Sakura, I really, really enjoy Magical Girl series. Also a parody of Magical Girl series, which people don't seem to remember. And then, a lot of folks like Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, which is I've only seen like one episode of that, so I don't know. I know it's very sort of plot heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on there in terms of going from one story to the next. So I can't comment on how well they pull that off, but I've heard good things about that. How is Viz Media in terms of releasing sets? Do you mean in terms of like frequency? I mean, they're about as good as anyone else, I think. I haven't noticed any huge problems. I think Viz's sets are generally less premium. They tend to do solid sets, but nothing really crazy. Any specific sets you're looking into? We've kind of described them all there. The 100D and all the others. And that's pretty much it. That's what we're looking for. Where'd that? Oh, it's over here. Where was that? Yeah. So for me, I definitely interested in Robot Carnival and such. But in terms of like big sets, nothing really huge.
What was this? What was the space one that they came out with one season in the US, but there were 2 more seasons that never came out in the US? I can't remember. It's gonna drive me crazy.
What was it about?
All night. I can't remember. Sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up if I can't remember.
I don't remember. Space one. I can't think of a space series that had 3 seasons. Off the top of my head. Was it like realistic space or more sort of outlaw star space?
I'm sorry, I'm spacing on that
one. Yeah, I hear you, the Kaiser. I wouldn't be surprised if they release some kind of like what was done with I'm trying to remember. Robotech is what I'm thinking of, where they released multiple box sets, but the box sets you can all sort of set side by side, and they're all the same, system and the same style and visual layout. So I think they'll do something like that, where you can get all the Sailor Moon episodes in one big set, broken up a little bit, but maybe 5, maybe 4 sets of 50 episodes each, something like that. So the prices are reasonable. But yeah, it's I hear that. I'm sure at some point.
I almost bought an Inuyasha cell over the weekend.
Oh yeah, that was.
I wish I had more money. There were so many cells.
Yeah, we came across a cell dealer with really good prices. So it was really cool.
I should have checked on some Ranma. I didn't
Oh
check for Ranma.
yeah. Yeah, Ranma. In fairness, Ranma's been pretty well picked over.
Has
you
it?
know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot left.
It's
of
had
that.
a few years to be
absorbed.
absorbed.
Yeah, sometimes you'll find where a collector will sell off their entire collection, and there's some good stuff in there, but there's not much left. Check on eBay.
Yeah,
there's a lot of it sold on eBay.
I want the Yamato.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Viz started dubbing Sailor Moon S a few weeks ago. So, it's coming. It's coming. Sailor Moon's popular enough that you're gonna get your Sailor Moon, and you'll get it in reasonably low prices. That's just the way of it.
How many episodes was that?
Well, in terms of
how many seasons was that?
That's the issue. Is that there are so many different seasons, different shows, different versions of it. And there's Sailor Moon Crystal, so it's there's certainly a lot of content.
Is it as vast as the Gundam?
Not as vast, but there are, I think, 5 different Sailor Moon series. So that's a lot to kind of comb through and look at, and some of them went on for a while, particularly the original Sailor Moon. So it's there's a lot. Yeah, I can't think of any franchise that comes close to Gundam in terms of number of episodes
and models.
Oh,
the models we saw.
My goodness.
some beautiful models. Contest winners, I think.
Yeah, that was so cool. They had the Gunplay Builders, some of the Gunplay Builders entrance there. So you could actually see some of the models that have been built for the Gunplay Builders competition.
Nice little cases, all of big square glass, well, not glass, but
like acrylic kind of thing.
Yeah, acrylic, so you could see it and underlit from the bottom around, and just the craftsmanship that went into that was fantastic.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Let's find out. Yep, Sentai licensed Parasite the Maximum. I'm assuming that's the Parasite you're talking about. I don't see anything in the original release of the license information about that. Oh, hey, man. I don't see anything in there about a release date, but yes, it was Sentai Filmworks. Well, I do mean 5 series in the sense that Crystal is a remake. It is not one big continuous story. But yes, you are certainly correct that Sailor Moon R and Sailor Moon S are all continuing on from there. But personally, I count Sailor Moon R as one Sailor Moon series, and Sailor Moon S as one Sailor Moon series. In the same way that Gundam has its different series that may all be part of the same timeline. But you can certainly call them seasons. I mean, that's also certainly a valid accounting, if you will. That is accurate as well. Nothing wrong with that.
Seems that there was a web release of something.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some kind of ONA.
Let's see. Load.
Shoujo Senshi Sailor Moon Crystal. That's Crystal.
Is it just a web release?
That can't be.
They didn't put
Crystal
it out
was
over the air. Or?
Crystal was broadcast. Yeah. Wonder why that is. I'm pretty sure Sailor Moon Crystal was broadcast, wasn't it? Is that NADB?
Yeah.
Yeah, NADB is saying it's web only. That's bizarre. It may just be a bug.
Could be a glitch.
Yeah, glitch in the database. Glitch in the matrix. Speaking of glitch in the matrix, I need to go back and rebuild my RAID array of anime all over again. Technology. Technology. Blast you.
It's great when it works. When it fails,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, Kaiser, is 200 episodes plus the 3 movies. That's a lot in one box set. I can't imagine that. And at decent quality, not compressing it down to nothing. So that would be tough. Yeah. Crystal is in the middle of broadcast, so exactly. So, well, the other thing too is, and here's an interesting question though. I mean, who is buying those DVDs? Like, I imagine the current crop of fans, they're going to want it streaming. It would be older fans who want the physical copy.
Yeah.
The target demographic of Sailor Moon, I can't imagine jumping up and down demanding a DVD release. So I'm wondering who would buy a giant big box set of Sailor Moon. Granted, people buy giant big everything of Sailor Moon. I mean, Sailor Moon's big enough. There's just it's huge. So I don't know. That's cool. Ben, I have seen nothing of Parasite. I have heard good things about it. As with so many things. Unknown alien invaders and such.
Parasite.
Kenichi Shimizu is a director who's worked on, holy smokes, everything in the world. Key animation, a key animator, so that says a lot. Also directed the Avengers Confidential, Black Widow, and Punisher movie. That's funny. What else did he direct? A lot of key animation here. This is the director of Parasite: The Maximum. Was that his? Those are the only director roles. That seems to be about it. Interesting. But key animator on, well, gosh, Lotte Lupin III, Hajime no Ippo, Gurren Lagann, Fushigi Yugi. Wow, that goes back a ways. Crayon Shinchan, Captain Tsubasa J. Armitage III. That's going back a ways as well. And Afro Samurai Resurrection. So yeah, this guy's been around a while. That's a good sign. Interesting. And series composition by Shoji Yonemura, who did Gwyn Saga and Glass Fleet. So that's more space opera stuff.
Yeah.
Lot of writing for anime. Death Note, Berserk, Fairy Tail, Figure 17. Oh. Gwyn Saga. Some Lupin III as well. A lot of Pokemon, some Pocket Monsters. Saint Tail. And the Stitch anime. Interesting. Speaking of which, so I do have to share something. So bash.org is a collection of quotes from IRC chats. So online text chats. And there's one that was that I have to admit is pretty funny. I don't know if you guys can see this. Someone is saying, I wonder how long it will end up taking for all this My Little Pony stuff to blow over. Someone says, too long, 2 years. And the guy says, Sailor Moon took like 10 years. And every once in a while, I still hear people harp about Sailor Moon. And people go, dude, Sailor Moon is awesome. Sailor Moon was good, though. Sailor Moon. He goes, oh, my effing God. You don't disrespect Sailor Moon. I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
That is odd that they delayed an episode of Dragon Ball Super for a week with no news on the reason. I mean, normally they'll come out and say, yeah, we ran into something happened.
We forgot.
Yeah.
What?
We're airing this week? Really? We have an episode to do? We had no idea. Imagine that. Shades of Shirobako going on there. I don't know. Got to hit the air date.
Make the air date.
Cool. All right, guys, we had better get heading off here. Thank you all very much for joining us. Take care, and we will see you next week with more Boogiepop Phantom, more Haruhi Suzumiya, and yeah, should be good. One thing I should mention, we'll have to do a separate video about this. We have a winner for the contest.
Yay!
Yeah. So,
Who is our winner?
Our winner is Dark Realm, actually.
Dark Realm.
Yeah, so Dark Realm sent in an email. So thank you, Dark Realm. He's unfortunately not in the chat room today.
Nope.
We'll be sending Dark Realm his choice of poster or shirt shortly. So that is that. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and see you guys next time.
Take care.